We begin in Ukraine, where more than 5 million refugees have now fled the country since the war began almost 8 weeks ago. The Russians are keeping a vice-like grip on the port city of Mariupol, and Russian forces continue their assault on eastern Ukraine, particularly the Donbas region. CBS News' Skyler Henry reports from the White House.
Ukraine's deputy prime minister says an agreed-upon humanitarian corridor to evacuate civilians from this steel plant in Mariupol had not worked as planned. An estimated 1,000 Ukrainians were sheltering underneath the plant in this besieged port city. A Ukraine Marine says we're facing our last days, if not last hours. The enemy outnumbers us 10 to 1. Ukraine's president says his country's armed forces have been unable to unblock Mariupol. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said agreements on humanitarian corridors have been violated before and made a grim prediction for Mariupol.
One, this tide also at some point recedes from Mariupol. We're going to see far worse, if that's possible to imagine.
Elsewhere, this platoon commander outside the village of Pisky says his troops are holding firm, but they need more weapons.
Enemy won't destroyed my country.
The U.S. is preparing a major new shipment of artillery and ammunition to Ukraine, rushing to get it there in time to be used against the Russian offensive. President Biden is meeting with military leaders this afternoon. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin welcomed his Polish counterpart to the Pentagon earlier, thanking the country for its role in helping Ukraine.
You have performed the absolutely essential role of facilitating the delivery of security assistance from the United States.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and others walked out of a G20 meeting Wednesday as Russia's representative began speaking. And tennis players from Russia and Belarus are barred from Wimbledon because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Skyler Henry, CBS News, the White House.
For more on the war in Ukraine, CBS News foreign correspondent Chris Livesay joins me now from Kyiv. Chris, you have been reporting doggedly on the intense fighting in Mariupol. What's happening there now, especially after Ukrainian forces ignored yet another deadline imposed by the Russians to surrender?
Well, those soldiers aren't so much ignoring that deadline as openly defying it, because they have absolutely no reason to trust that the Russians will respect any terms of a surrender, nor to a ceasefire, actually. The deputy prime minister today released a statement saying that an agreed-upon humanitarian corridor to allow thousands of civilians to flee the city was not respected by Russian soldiers. As for those Ukrainian soldiers who are barricaded inside of the steel mill, they have been given yet another ultimatum and a deadline to surrender or die. But as you mentioned, they refuse to lay down their arms, and that's because they've been fired upon in the past when similar promises have been made, not just in Mariupol, but in previous battles dating all the way back to 2014. Because let's remember, this is a conflict that's been ongoing ever since Russia supported the separatists in eastern Ukraine. And so right now, this is a battle to the finish for these soldiers who have actually taken to Facebook, pleading with the world to please come to help them escape to safety. So it is a dire, very apocalyptic scenario for these soldiers holding out to the bitter end.
Chris, let me ask you what might be an obvious question. If I heard you correctly, it's not as so much as those in Mariupol have a set of options. If they lay down their arms, they're afraid they'll be slaughtered. So the only rational response is to hold onto your arms and fight as best you can, even against stratospherically negative odds.
Well, that's absolutely right. And they have some reason to hope, because let's remember, people wrote off Ukraine from the very beginning of this war, not just Mariupol, but Kyiv, where I'm standing right now, a city that was supposed to fall in 3 days. And here we are almost 2 months into this conflict, and it's still standing. It's been a David and Goliath battle everywhere in this country ever since the beginning. All you have to do is look to last week when Ukraine managed to sink Russia's lead warship, the Moskva, with 2 Ukrainian-made Neptune missiles. So all we can do is imagine that's what's going through the minds of these diehard diehard fighters in Mariupol hold out to the very end because there's always a chance that they too might succeed in slaying a giant.
Chris, lots of Americans are watching this war closely. They see graphics on television showing a larger concentration of Russian forces heading to the east, and they hear the Donbas region referred to with some regularity. We don't know fully what that means strategically to the Russians, but it is clear a good portion of the fighting is now being focused there. Why and to what effect?
Well, Russia has completely concentrated its efforts now in eastern Ukraine precisely because the people of Kyiv, the soldiers surrounding Kyiv in this area, beat the Russians back so badly they had to regroup and come up with a new objective. Vladimir Putin is probably looking for a short-term victory to have something to show for this war. Up until now, he has an enormous body count to show for it in terms of his own soldiers, and he's also immiserated his own people in terms of the sanctions that he's incurred from the Western world, and not to mention the disgust over this invasion from people around the world as well. Fighting in Donbas and eastern Ukraine, it offers a lot of advantages for Russia that he didn't enjoy, that Putin didn't enjoy, I should say, here in Kyiv, which was an urban warfare environment. In a lot of places, you could imagine something similar to the suburbs of the United States with your subdivisions and your grocery stores and your business centers. All of these things exist in Ukraine as well, all of them providing, concrete barriers for Ukrainian soldiers to hide behind and to pop out from behind and shoot their, shoulder-mounted javelin missiles that have been so effective at taking out Russian tanks. Shifting over to eastern Ukraine, the terrain becomes much more open, and you're going to see a lot of heavy artillery from Ukraine going head-to-head with Russian artillery that vastly outnumbers Ukraine's artillery. But we shouldn't be too quick to overstate Russia's advantage. Ukraine has been dug in deep here for the past 8 years, ever since Russia annexed Crimea in the south and supported separatists in the east. These are some of Ukraine's most battle-hardened and experienced fighters who've been preparing for an invasion just like this one. So Ukraine has that advantage as well. They have ferocious fighters on their own home territory with a lot to lose compared to Russian fighters. We're hearing from intelligence reports that morale is extremely low after having been beaten back in and around Kyiv. There are reports of Russian soldiers refusing to fight, even turning against their commanding officers. And Russia depends very heavily on conscript soldiers. So they've got a lot of work to actually muster up not just the manpower, but the morale to take on Ukrainian fighters who have everything to lose and have fought ferociously up until this moment.
Chris, you've really well described how the battlefield is changing, how the priorities of the Russian military are shifted to the east. So this brings us to a conversation that President Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, is having with the Western powers, begging them for fighter jets. Now, in the early stage of this conflict, the West said, fighter jets probably won't be that important. But clearly, Ukrainians believe that they would be now. How important would they be if they were to arrive in the not-too-distant future?
Well, it would be an enormous boost, not just in terms of firepower, but also showing Russia the kind of faith that the West has in Ukraine to stand up for itself. And we shouldn't underestimate what the West is willing to do. There's been this gradual crescendo with more and more artillery coming into Ukraine since the start of the Russian invasion. I was talking to a Ukrainian lawmaker who said to me it was very clear that when Russia first invaded, the United States and NATO thought that Ukraine was going to fall based on the weapons that they were getting from them. So they were getting these shoulder-mounted javelins, these anti-tank weapons, anti-aircraft weapons, but again, the shoulder-mounted type that were portable and lightweight, the kind of thing you'd expect to see in an insurrection, as opposed to the kind of battles that we're now starting to see in eastern Ukraine, now that Ukraine has done such a good job of defending itself. So in other words, they've proven to the West that they actually can fight and that Russia is not this invincible foe. So they're starting to see heavier artillery, helicopters, armored vehicles, howitzers for the first time are coming into Ukraine from the United States as part of that $800 million package that Biden announced last week. So it's a very big deal. Nevertheless, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky keeps repeating, we need more and more and more. What you're giving us is only going to last us for a few days, maybe a few more weeks. He says that he's starting to feel like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day because he has to keep repeating himself so often.
One constant in modern warfare, every infantry wants air cover. Chris Livesay coming to us from Kyiv. We thank you very much.
Thanks, Major.